All right, guys, so isn't this the coolest and the weirdest case to have come in the past few years? Normally we would see something this strange and unique from Inwin, but this time it's coming from Cooler Master. This is the Sneaker X enclosure. So a little bit of a history behind how this came to be. So Cooler Master participate in these like modder world annual communities where people would mod an enclosure for a PC case and they would choose a winner to do a mass production enclosure. And this one and another one that we'll show you later won. So Cooler Master has made a new CMod X community in where they do this case mod type of direction. And Cooler Master is normally known for their hardware, for their DIY components and DIY community, but they're slowly shifting away into like a tech lifestyle brand, which you can tell definitely from their brand redesign, from all the color stuff that they use, and definitely are targeting Gen Zs with this. The Sneaker X is going for that, who cares about the hardware? It's really about the enclosure. All the panel and pieces on the exterior look really cool. The Cooler Master frame over here, the perforated shell on the back, almost feels like something Iron Man would wear. I really love this suspension piece that almost feels like I could tighten and untighten. Perhaps that is part of the frame, like when you have to do something in order to access the interior. And speaking of the interior, huge thanks to our CS sponsors. Without them, this would have been possible, and Cooler Master being one of them, so thank you very much. So a few things about the Sneaker X. It is an ITX machine, of course. It is a pre-built. It's not just a standalone enclosure. Every time though, I'm like, when are we gonna see a standalone case? Not yet. This is going to be a pre-built system with ITX, RTX 4000 series, some Intel, AMD systems, whatever. There's a 360 radiator at the bottom with intake fans. Not a lot of clearance, so like don't expect mind-blowing performance, you know what I mean? What we're seeing now is their first SKU in red, but we're told they're gonna do limited edition runs for certain sports categories where the shoe becomes not this color, but they're going to change out some panels in terms of color to be the special colorway. And that, I think, is a very interesting direction, just because we normally see that with keyboards, with mice, but not with a case, especially not the one that looks like a basketball shoe. There is no I/O, which I find really strange. The power button is on the right side. It does have a really hefty price tag between $4,000 and $5,000 US dollars, so that's going to come with all the latest hardware. In terms of upgradability, that's what I was asking them about, because if you get something like this and you just love the shape, but let's say you want to swap out RAM, swap out an SSD, or add anything to it, I hope they're going to have like a nice instructions manual, but they're definitely going to think about the user experience beyond just receiving something so unique. But you can swap out the GPU. We have 300 millimeters of VGA clearance, which is not ideal, honestly, but let's say 4080 or 4090 FE should fit. And then, good people, we have this, the Shark X, still in the CMod X family of enclosures. Again, winner from one of those case mod competitions. It is very tall, it is very different. We have the Cooler Master base, we have all the paneling, and I actually prefer this over the sneakers, perhaps because we have an exposed hardware motherboard ITX configuration here, so if you do have immediate need to access something, you can just do it. The GPU is installed in the top section, right below the top fin. It doesn't seem to be very much, compatibility-wise, like it seems like a 2.5 slot card. So perhaps, don't expect miracles in terms of hardware support. Also, it can only do a 120mm radiator and a 120mm fan. Consider this an open system configuration with this really interesting Shark design for the enclosure. You can just really appreciate all the little elements like the triple eyes, all the RGB, the fins over here. They all have a little bit of a, not just the paint, but a little texture. And I feel like if you get something like this that is also a pre-built, it's not something that you can just buy the frame separately, it's definitely going to be a showcase experience like no other. And the price point again is like $4,000+ depending on the configuration. I mean, I have never seen anything like it outside of Inwin trying with their concept stuff, so it's actually very kind of refreshing to see these things being rolled out as part of an actual mass-produced product. Cool. And finally, we have this, the Cooling Max. The interesting thing about the Cooler Master showcase here, the Sneaker X, the Shark X, and the Cooling X isn't just like prototyping, oh, this is what we're thinking about. No, this is actually going into production in April. And the Cooling X has got two really interesting features. So number one is that it's under 30 decibel running, so like there's absolutely no noise from this machine. So if you're a music designer or just someone who really appreciates a silent computer, this is probably going to be a very appealing thing. Also from a design point of view, it reminds me of like a tiny miniaturized Cosmos, very much a Cooler Master enclosure because of these top handles that are kind of built into the chassis, the same thing for the bottom feet. But the best thing about this thing is that imagine a Corsair 1, you know how it has the two radiators over here and that, not passive, but an actively exhaust system at the top. So here, instead of having two radiators, we have these aluminum sections over here that is an actual reservoir with the water flowing through them. So the water gets cooled by these things passively for the GPU section and for the CPU. And there's also a 240mm radiator at the back to do active cooling that holds additional water so that we have more volume of water for better cooling altogether. Therefore, a really compact system that has incredible cooling and also incredible silence. At launch, this thing would cost around $7,000. Okay, Robert, you ready to buy this thing, right? With the latest Ryzen 7000 processors and the RX 7000 series GPU. So an all AMD system. I mean, good luck to you. But they will be rolling out NVIDIA and Intel later. The I/O at the top is super nicely cleanly routed into the motherboard and into the GPU. So you don't have to access anything from the top because the motherboard is facing up. That dual chamber layout. Probably upgrade options are not going to be very popular for the GPU side, but for the CPU side, extra memory, install a different CPU, no problems there because the water blocks are going to be compatible with the motherboard anyway. So yeah, the Cooling X, the Sneaker X, the Shark X, let us know which one was your favorite. I'm Dmitry, and thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video.